Welcome to another episode of Wife for Life. This is Michelle McElroy, your favorite marriage specialist. And joining me today, I'm so excited to share with you guys none other than the Dr. Nikita White. Yay! Hey, Nikita.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yay! Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you stated, I am Dr. Nikita White. Um I do a whole bunch of stuff. So primarily my full-time role is I'm a chief financial officer at a large charter school in the city of Chicago. And I also am First Lady of Joshua Missionary Baptist Church on the west side of Chicago. And then as a side gig, people call me First Lady of Tax because I do have my own tax business where I do individual tax preparation as well as businesses.
Wow, you got 3 jobs.
3 jobs, plus a full-time mother, wife, and all the things that go along with it.
Yes, all the things. You said that right. So I feel like we all got all the things. All women have all the things. So listen, I mean, now hearing all these different professions that you have, tell us which one came first.
Well, I would say my career came first. I have been in accounting since I graduated from college. Um,
Where'd you go?
I went to University of Illinois in Champaign, Urbana. So
Yeah.
yes, fighting Illini. That's me. And I graduated with my degree in accounting, CPA, went on to get an MBA from DePaul, and then a doctorate in educational leadership from National Louis.
Nice. Wow. I love that. And just for women who may be interested in furthering their education or developing more in their profession, can you tell us, did you do all 3 of those back to back? And if not, what was the time span in between those 3?
Yeah, I honestly, I did it sort of back to back, and I did it pre-marriage and pre-children. So I think it was a little bit easier, going straight through, focusing on education. The doctorate came a little bit later, only because once I started working in the schools as an accountant, I just learned of this whole new path to education. And one of my mentors at the time, he was like, if you are going to be able to speak to principals and curriculum directors and superintendents, this credential would be helpful to couple with your financial expertise so that you'll be well rounded in those education spaces. And it has worked out for me tremendously because most people are like, why does an accountant have a doctorate in educational leadership? And that's really, that's why. It's because I've worked in school administration for so long. And so it just helps to have that background knowledge when dealing with the education of our kids.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And I really like the fact that you mentioned a mentor. I think mentors are priceless. Like, I think that there are people in those spaces already that could help us understand the importance of pairing different degrees together and how they help us create the whole picture of who we can be in our profession, and that makes us more valuable in our professions. So I absolutely love the idea of a mentor. I feel like that's what sparked me to go into coaching. I asked a who is my mentor. His name is Doug McKinley. At the time, he had his own practice in therapy. doctorate degree and everything. And I was thinking about going back to school because, like you, I went straight through to get my master's. And then, football kind of took us from state to state, and you had to re-license at every state. And so that kind of took me off my path. Then once we're situated back here, I was like, okay, I want to get back in it. Girl, they wanted me to get a master's all over again.
Oh, wow.
The same degree. I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't think I wanna do that." And that's when met my coach, and it was a perfect timing, and he said, "No, go into," I mean, my mentor, well, he's both. I said, "Go," he said, "Go into coaching instead," and I thought, "Okay," and I looked into it, and sure enough, it's been the best business move I've made in my career. So that's one thing I wanted to pull out of that, but also the advice you're giving on if we can get it done before marriage and children, do that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I try to encourage my nieces and nephews and even like young people in our church. Like if you can stay focused while you're young and you don't have you aren't and I won't say like tied down, but having a family is a commitment
Yeah.
in and of itself. And I applaud the people who go to school and get degrees, especially masters and doctorates while they have a family. But they will tell you that it's a sacrifice because some things you have to say no to. Some time away from your family you have to spend to dedicate towards studying and writing papers and doing all of the things. And so I'm just grateful that, when I was single at the time, I was able to focus on that. Now, I still had to say no to some stuff. I had to say no to some friends. I had to miss some events because that took precedence. But on the other side of that, now I can say, I get to enjoy the fruits of that labor.
Yes, and you get to command more money. Ooh, he pay me. I I love
Right.
that. I love that, and, I feel like you said, with children and, even a spouse, that's another responsibility. I have a client that, they came to me for help because the husband was getting his doctorate degree, and they have children, and the wife was struggling, and my heart poured out to him, but I recognize, man, once this season is over, they'll be right back on track. You know what I mean? But,
Absolutely. It's a sacrifice.
oh, it's a hard sacrifice too, but it sounds like it's worthwhile.
It's worthwhile and it's definitely doable. Whatever your path is, I think that, especially if you are doing something to professionally or even just to chase after your dreams, I think your family definitely understands that the need for fulfillment in other areas outside of the house. And so, whatever stage of life you're in, I would say it's never too late, um, and go for it.
Yeah. Now, how long did it take you to get your doctorate?
Well, it was like an intensive cohort program offered by the university at the time. And so we went a couple of nights a week and did some intensive weeks during the summer. And so coursework was about 2 years. And then of course you write your dissertation after that, and that time frame can vary. But I would say between 2 to 4 years, I was completely done.
Ooh-wee. That dissertation must be a mug. That's another 2 years, or it could be, depending.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well,
Because you have to do research and write and get that edited, and it's a monster, but
yeah.
it's worth it.
Now, is that, dissertation, does that then become, can that be a book for you, or?
It can, depending on your topic. You definitely have a published work at the end of it.
Mhm.
Um, and I would recommend anybody that's in pursuit of a doctorate, if you know your topic early, one of the things that can help speed up the process is that all of your coursework can be related to that topic. So it's not like you're starting over once you finish your coursework. So all of everything that you do, you could be essentially writing the chapter all throughout the 2 years. So when you're assigned homework, you can make that your part of your research project. So choosing the topic early is the biggest advice I would give to anybody pursuing a doctorate.
I love that. And do they offer assistance with helping you choose a topic?
Absolutely. Depending on the school, you'll be assigned like a guidance counselor who can help you navigate that. I think if you get to the stage of wanting to pursue a doctorate degree, you have some idea already of like what it is that you want the world to know, or
Yeah,
different areas of impact that you want to involve yourself in. But definitely, your guidance counselor will help you every step of the way.
I love that. Wonderful, wonderful. So let's get back to your career before we get into relationships. So when you graduated with your accounting degree, did you start your career in the education field?
Absolutely not. So I started sort of in the traditional accounting firm type world.
Yeah.
And although I like accounting, it was not my favorite sort of setting because that is really tied to people who want to be behind the computer, crunching numbers, doing the things. And so I have this whole nother creative side to me, which is why I'm involved in all these other things. um, and at some point, I said, I wanted to make a career change. I want to be a teacher. And so I was looking up all of these alternative teaching programs, and it just never panned out.
Mm.
And so I was talking to somebody, and they said, well, why don't you go work in the school doing what you already know how to do? And me being young and unlearned at the time, I was like, wait, so schools have accountants? And lo and behold, after a little research, yes, they do. They have a whole business office that runs the finances for the school district. And I ended up getting a job. Like I interviewed, I got the job. It was the first job that I actually got like on the spot.
Oh, wow.
I got offered the job on the spot, and the rest is history. I mean, my boss at the time, he was like, let me show you how to double your salary. And he became my mentor, and got the school to pay 100% for my doctorate. So it was like a double win.
Woo!
And I got this credential free of charge just for having a commitment to work there for a couple of years.
That is amazing. What a blessing. Oh my. Oh my.
So I think everything was just kind of God aligned for me to be in that space.
Amen to that. I agree with that. And I think about this is why, some level of guidance is always helpful because when you think about schools in the education system, who thinks about accounting? You know what I'm saying? Like,
If you don't know what you don't know,
yeah,
because like, and that's the benefit of having a mentor because, sometimes growing up, we aren't exposed to everything that there is out there in the world. And I think any opportunity you have to talk to other people that can expose you to a different path is valuable because I had no clue.
yeah.
I thought getting an accounting degree, I was going to be downtown in a high rise building doing audits. I had no clue that I'd be chief financial officer of school.
Man. That's fantastic. I love it. And I could just hearing you say downtown doing audits, crunching numbers behind the desk, like, yeah, I'm not seeing you in that atmosphere.
Because, like all the things that I do, right?
Yeah, and it just seems mundane. Like, you know what I mean? For a person who has this creative part of them. If you don't, then hey, that's probably perfect and ideal. And especially if you don't have to deal with a lot of people day in,
Yeah, some
day out.
people love it. I mean, they
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. So that's cool. Oh my goodness. So amazing and inspiring. And I just want you to know I'm inspired, on multi levels because, one of my friends, we went to grad school together. We both were like, we want to get our doctorate degrees. And she's in a program now and she's like, come on, do it with me. I'm like, oh no, I don't think so. Well, I might, but it's the time frame that's getting me. But we'll see. I'll touch base with you offline.
Mine still.
So let's get into the relationship, La Jam. So tell me, how did you and your husband meet?
So I'm a church girl. And
So you grew up
I
in church? Is that what you're
born and raised literally.
okay?
And we met at church. We were at a concert, and two tallest people in the room just happened to notice each other. The rest is kind of like, here we are.
I love that. So listen, you tapped on something right there that I am sure there are women out there that could relate to. Now, I met you through my husband's sister Carla. That's how we met. And when you say tall girl, I think about that because I think at some point Ray had a complex because Carla was too close to his height. I mean, having a dad that's 6'2", a brother that's 6'4", and I think Carla's what, 5'10", something like that.
Probably like 5'10", 5'11". We were all throughout elementary school. We were known as the Twin Towers.
I hope y'all like that nickname because you know kids can be cruel.
It stuck.
And okay, hopefully in a good way and stuff.
Yeah,
But nonetheless, did you play basketball too?
I did.
Awesome, awesome. So that's how y'all really got close too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have known each other probably since like the first grade, all the way through high school. Really, really good friends, best of friends. And like you said, being tall as a woman, sometimes boys don't grow as fast as girls. So I think it wasn't until we got to high school that all of a sudden, boys started to shoot up. But that was really the story with me and my husband. We were in a room, and of course I like heels, so I had on heels, which make me about like 6'1"
Okay.
with heels on. And I could tell he was looking at me from across the room. I was looking at him from across the room, and um, when I got ready to go outside, here he come following me like, "Hey, what's your name?"
Wow. Okay, wait. Before you go any further, I just want you to give us some idea of how did it feel because um I have had friends that are tall, girlfriends that are tall, who felt like the dating pool was very limited. They were actually quite frustrated with guys, the lack of guys approaching them. What was your experience dating with heightened heels, supermodel?
I used to be self-conscious about it. I don't think I started wearing heels until I got to college. I would always wear flats.
Mm.
Um, and then once I became a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, my friends were like, "Put them flats away and put them heels on." And it really helped, boost the confidence. But it's hard. It's not a lot of tall men in the world, and so women do have issue with that. So luckily, my husband is taller than me.
I love it. And y'all eyes caught each other's across the church real.
Across the church.
I love it. Okay, so let's get back to the story. So you guys' eyes crossed path, and then you said you went outside, and he came up, and he was like, "Hey, girl, hey."
But hey, girl, hey.
So how did that go? What was your initial impression when he came up?
My initial impression was like, okay, he's cute. And then I had a few friends with me. He had a friend with him, and they're like, "Well, what are y'all about to do?" So we all went to eat. So it's like a group sort of first date. And then from there, it blossomed into love story and a romance of it starts with the good mornings, and we were going to lunch every day. And I think about the third or fourth date, he was like, "I gotta tell you something." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Well, my dad is retiring, and in a couple of weeks I'm gonna become a pastor."
Oh, on the 3rd or 4th day.
Yes.
Ooh, how did you feel about that?
Um, well, it wasn't like I wasn't upset about it. I don't think I felt anything good, bad, or indifferent. And like I said, I grew up in church, so I was bound to be with somebody from church,
Mm,
So it was like, okay. Um, and then from there, it's like I immediately, if that's just the person I am, I immediately like kicked into gear with helping to plan the celebration and the program and all the things. So,
he fell in love once you started doing that. I know. I know. He was like, talk about a helpmate. Yes, it is.
helping, yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love that. So how long between date one and will you marry me?
It was about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year and a half.
And, and who asked who and what was that like?
Well, of course he asked,
Okay.
and it was we have a picture of it. But again, growing up in church, both of us, of course, it was at church. So he had like a banquet for his I don't even know if it was his anniversary or the church anniversary. I don't know what it was, but it was a banquet. And during his remarks at the end of the banquet, he actually proposed in front of everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And then
So,
everybody roared. Did the room sound like thunder?
yes. So, like, our whole life revolves around the church.
Oh my goodness. So early in marriage, you had to not just adjust to the learning scale of being a wife, but you also had to adjust to the learning scale of being a first lady. And I know there's a lot of pressure that comes along with that, especially in an existing church. So how did you handle that?
It was hard because the church that I grew up in, I had been there my entire life from birth. And so going to a new environment, just fresh, you automatically think that all churches are equal, and they are not. And so things that happened at the church that I grew up at was not necessarily um, how his church operated. And so getting acclimated to that was hard. Also, being more outgoing, and because like when you grow up in the church, everybody knows you. Like you're everybody's sister, cousin, friend, auntie. To go to some place where nobody knows you. And so they're filling you out, you're filling them out. And just being the first lady, eyes are on you. What you wear, what you say, what you do, where you sit, like the whole thing. Definitely an adjustment. But the biggest thing is having a supportive spouse who knows how to make sure that everybody embraces the first lady and the relationship is helpful in the process.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It sounds like he covered you well.
Yes. One of the things that we did for Thanksgiving, we we used to give out turkeys, and we would give them out on Sunday morning, um, and then everybody would come up and get one. And so we said, being new pastor, new first lady, we're going to take like a week, and we're going to go to everybody's house and drop them off.
Oh, wow.
And so we just made a schedule, and we went to all of the members' house and personally delivered it. We sat on their couch. And we had a plan and a signal because we knew we had to get to the next location. And so, like, after, I would tap him on the knee when it was like 15 minutes so he know to wrap it up so that we can move on to the next house. But I think it was so instrumental in just showing the human side because people got to, see us sit on their couch, ask how their day went, come into their environment. And it just dramatically changed how people see you,
Mhm.
to have that personal touch point. And I think that was one of the best things that we could have done.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's a great idea too, just, in, building that level of connectivity between you who, as you said, was a stranger and now this existing member. How that's beautiful. Like, that really touches my heart and, really expands my thought process as a new first lady, as to what needs to be done to connect with the congregation. So I appreciate you sharing that story. So now how long have you guys been married?
We've been married since 2011. So this September will be 14 years.
Yay, that's phenomenal. 14. Let's go. So you guys doing something special for 15?
We have not talked about it yet, but most likely, yes.
Oh, got you. So tell me this, the name of my business, as you see, is Activating Intentional Marriages. And so, I really want to share with our listeners, our viewers, tidbits on how they could be intentional in creating longevity in their marriage and how they can have a successful marriage, how they can get to 15, 30 years and beyond, right? And sometimes we learn best from others, it doesn't hurt to have a marriage mentor either. So I love this concept. And so what I want to ask you is, in 14 going on 15 years, I'm sure marriage has not always been a bed of roses. So, can you share with us one of the most challenging times that you have had being married and how you and your hubby overcame that?
um, I can't speak to one time in particular, but I would just say in general, it's hard.
Yeah.
Um, it is filled with good moments, happy moments. Definitely the good outweighs the bad. But I think the one thing that is important is that you keep communication open.
Hmm.
You also find time for yourself, like you said, when you have marriage mentors, somebody like a trusted confidant that you can say, "Hey, I'm having a rough day today. Talk me off the ledge because I'm ready to scream, say something I don't mean." Like all the things you have to make sure that somebody can keep you grounded and that um, that you can have stick it out power if you rely on prayer, rely on the Lord's help, and then make sure no matter what that the two of you have a commitment to stay together. And so that's one of the things that we talk about a lot, and we talked about it earlier in our marriage. Like divorce is not an option.
Hmm.
And so you can go to your corner, I can go to mine, but eventually we're gonna talk it out and we're gonna stay together.
Okay, I love it. So tell me, because oftentimes, I've thought about going out on the streets and asking random people, hey, what's the key to a successful marriage? And oftentimes people do say communication, but when you say communication, in what way are you saying that communication is important and valuable in marriage?
To have a safe space to be heard, regardless of what that thing is, even if you have to write it or, put it in a letter, put it in a text, to just be able to say the thing that is on your heart with no repercussions so that the other person kind of knows how you feel. You may not always agree, but just wanting to be heard is really, um, for me, what communication is all about. Like, I want you to hear me and I want you to understand. And then let's come to some type of middle ground.
Yeah, I love that. Creating a safe space is so important, um, to us all feeling heard and understood. How did you guys create a safe space?
Um, a lot of work, working at it. One of the things that we do sometimes is take a long drive so that you're out of the house, out of the comfort and however long it takes, whether you go from here to Springfield or up and down Lakeshore Drive, take a long drive and, clear the air.
Yeah, and nothing clears your mind like a long drive. I think about going to U of I Urbana to see my son. And during that time, I found myself oftentimes with no radio, nothing on, just in silence. And it's something about driving past all those cornfields and windmills. It just makes you feel closer to God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So kinda helps you clear your mind and really think some things through, so I love that idea, and I hope that, blesses someone. You also mentioned, something very unique, which is writing a letter to your spouse. How did you utilize that in, creating a safe space or communicating?
Sometimes you can write a letter, but tear it up and throw it in the garbage.
Okay.
Because that helps you to get the stuff that you should not say off of your chest.
Okay.
And then you rewrite the one that actually gets delivered. Because sometimes we want to vent and say some things that may hit below the belt, but it's not always the thing that you should say to that person directly. And so therapy will teach you to write it anyway, but throw it away.
Let me say, that was not where I thought you was gonna go. I feel well, I absolutely love that answer because I think we do oftentimes just want to vent, we feel this unction to get things off our chest. And unfortunately, we think at times that that relief that comes from getting things off our chest is good or successful, or we told him, or we did that. But in actuality, it was more damaging than help.
Words hurt.
Yes.
Words hurt.
Oftentimes worse than any other type of hurt, especially from the one person that you love and admire the most. So yeah, that was I love that one.
And we're human, so sometimes you want to say the thing, sometimes you want to curse, sometimes you want to be like this, please, please, please. Write it down and then put it in the trash.
Someone said, "God forgive me." It's right.
Please.
I'm gonna stand up now, so don't nobody mad it. But yeah,
Burn it if you have to.
girl, burn it. And sometimes that's a good symbolism. Just burning it, put it in the fireplace, and like, Lord, I'm releasing that and letting it go straight up through the chimney, so I don't have to revisit that again. But yes, some people journal, but I love this concept. This is a really awesome concept. And what I heard you also say is after destroying that one, you can still write another letter when your head is more level and you're calm and you
Absolutely.
processed it better and thoroughly, and now you can really communicate in a way where I feel like the nonverbals might intimidate you. Sometimes how our spouse is looking at us when we're sharing our most intimate and transparent details may make our mind go somewhere negative. But by writing this letter and giving them a chance to digest that privately, with hopes that you as a couple have a follow-up appointment, meaning
Yeah.
an opportunity to come back and discuss that. I think that's a phenomenal thing.
Because I know scripture teaches us to season our words.
Mm,
Um, and that's, I mean, that's not only good for women, but that's good for men too.
yeah.
I have another senior minister's wife who I call for counsel, and she said even sometimes when she feel like her husband is speaking to her in a manner that doesn't feel good, she'll say, "Hey, put a little sugar in your voice." I need you to speak to me a little softer. And I think women, especially, in the age that we're in, where everybody's independent, we got something to say. You know, I go to work every day and I make my own money. We think we can say what we want to say. That's not the case. Um, we gotta learn how to season our words.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And the play on words, put a little sugar in your voice.
Put a little sugar in your voice.
And a different seasoning. Um, but yeah, and I love the forthrightness of it in the moment. I oftentimes talk to my clients about developing our emotional intelligence. We give a lot of credit to book study and a career development, but not a lot to personal development. And my push is that we develop our emotional intelligence because it's not just learning about ourselves, it's also once you progress, having an awareness of your partner and how you communicate with them effectively as well. And then it's also about timing and how quickly you can process what you're experiencing in that moment because she had that level of awareness to say, hey, the way he's talking to me is impacting me in a certain kind of way. And rather than respond or react to that negatively, I would rather in this moment say, hey, can you shift, your volume or your tone or, hey, that's hurting me the way you're saying that. Would you please reiterate that in a different way where I don't feel so threatened or hurt? You know what I'm saying? Like if
Yeah,
you do that in the moment, man, the things that God could do with our relationships, the purpose that He has behind our marriages will be manifested because we won't be so bogged down by little unnecessary issues. So,
it's even more difficult when you're in the first lady role because no matter what,
mhm.
you may have to show up on Sunday with a smile on your face.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
it's helpful to know when is the right time to actually express certain things.
yeah,
Because Sunday morning ain't the time for you to
right.
get something off your chest.
Yeah,
You may need to wait till Tuesday.
yeah,
So that's one of the things too that like in the moment is always not the best moment to say what's on your heart.
yeah,
And sometimes you have to wait till everything is going good and bring it up softly.
yeah,
Like, hey, do you remember last week when you said,
yeah.
so it's all about timing. It's all about and this is an old phrase, but it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes, yes. And I love the timing because uh, timing is not just about, hey, uh, Sunday morning is before I'm about to preach a sermon is not the right time to bring up an issue. But timing is also about scheduling a time and both parties are aware. So both parties are prepared to have that discussion because oftentimes we'll bring up something spontaneously and then be frustrated because our spouse responded defensively. Well, they may not have been mentally prepared to have that discussion. So if
Correct.
we schedule a time to have that discussion, then each party can get their thoughts together and come prepared to listen well because they've already gotten their thoughts together. They've already written it down versus listening to defend themselves. You see what I'm saying? I I love that skill set. We share that a lot with our couples too. So, what else can we talk about? Oh, this is one of the new questions that I like to ask my wives when they come on to Wife for Life. So the first one is how are you intentionally how are you intentionally loving on your husband?
Um, I would say it goes back to the love languages
Mhm.
and the way that they receive love. So you
Okay.
have to know your spouse and then be intentional about doing those things that you know makes them feel loved.
Mhm.
So just being conscious of it, like no matter how tired you are, no matter what the kids had going on that day, no matter what affected you at work, you're still a wife when you get home, and even throughout the day, making sure you have those touch points to know that, hey, I may have a day full of meetings, but I'm gonna send a quick text to let you know that I'm thinking about you, or what would you like for dinner, or I'm gonna cook your favorite meal for dinner. Like those little things. Just be intentional about showing up in the way that they receive love.
Yeah, I like that. Text messages and special dinners. Is there anything in particular like that you did in a big way? Because I don't know about the rest of y'all listening, but I like to get some ideas. You know what I mean? Like, we come up with this stuff and Pinterest and stuff like that is helpful. But I want to get some lifetime ideas of things that I could do to show my boo. I love them. So, anything in particular, like that you felt real proud, you patted yourself on the shoulder, popped your collar, was like, I did that you did for your hubby that you want to share with us?
I think my big is probably like so extraordinary, but for one of his birthdays, um, I think I do it big for all of his birthdays, but one in particular,
Mhm.
we threw a gospel concert
What? At the church?
at the church. I mean, like big name artists. It was definitely a labor to get that thing pulled off, but he absolutely loved it. Um, the house was packed. I mean, we had everybody from Leandria Johnson to Pastor Tim Rogers to some local artists. It was like, um, it was amazing. But I also feel like all of his birthdays, I like go all out, whether it's a surprise dinner. Like one year we took our whole family to Jamaica and then we had dinner on the beach. So like I like to celebrate those that I love. And so that is one of the ways that I show up big because even as a boring accountant, I still have this creative party planning side to me. So um that's one of the things I do. Some of the things I do.
Ooh, those are dope. I love it. A whole gospel concert for me. I know he was excited about that. I mean, that was probably one for the books. I'm sure he will never forget. But that is really creative. And then the whole family going to Jamaica and things like that. That's amazing. Kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
I love that. So another thing, let me see what else. Tell me, what's the best quality or characteristic that you feel like your husband brings to the marriage? And the reason why I'm asking this is because, when we have these programs like this that are geared toward women or wives, sometimes I feel like men think it's just all about bashing them, right? But I think it's about growth and learning how to love ourselves and our spouses and our children all at the same time. Because sometimes and at any given moment, the balance is off, and that's fine. As long as in life we make sure we try to balance it out in the duration of our life. So with that being said, what characteristic or quality does your husband bring to the marriage that you feel like is absolutely amazing and that you love it so much and you can't imagine your marriage being without?
I say that he is the life of the party. And I'm sort of the introvert, quiet one. But you know that show like Everybody Loves Chris? It's
Uh,
like everybody loves Leon. Even to the point like if we show up somewhere and he's not with me, the first question is, "Where's Leon? Where's Leon? Where's Leon?" And I'm like, "I'm here. What about me?" But literally like the life of the party.
yeah. I
So that's a good balance for us because I am not always the life of the party. Sometimes I just want to chill.
Yeah. And as an introvert, you may not ever want to be there. So, that's great to know you could bounce off of him with that. But that he brings that, and that it sounds like you guys celebrate your differences in that way, which is beautiful in itself in marriage. So that's fantastic. And then my last question for you is this. When you think about the title of the podcast, Wife for Life, what what does a wife for life look like to you? What can you describe what you feel like a wife for life is?
Yeah, I think just having the mindset of commitment
Mhm.
would be a wife for life because honestly, if you pull up social media, the uh the amount of stuff that pops up regarding breaking up or leaving, there is not a lot about staying, but there is a whole heap load about leaving. Even like watching and looking at celebrities, they're jumping from person to person, thing to thing. And so being a wife for life is number one, honoring the commitment that you made before people, before God, and saying, I'm gonna try my hardest to stick it out.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That commitment is everything. It should be everything. And choosing to do what's necessary to make sure that it does last till death do you part is not an easy task, but I think it is so rewarding. There has been in my marriage with Ray, we have evolved many times over. We're 29, we'll be 30 in January.
Wow.
We have changed. We have been together since college. We are not the same people that we used to be. And that's what, pushed me to create a podcast with this title because I think the greatest thing we could do to honor God is to figure it out. To figure out how we could honor this covenant we made with him and figure out how we can not only honor it but perpetuate it through our children. Studies show that the percentage of people that get divorced are the children of them, their descendants are more likely, the percentage is higher that they too will end up in divorce. So the opposite of that obviously is if you saw it mimicked before you, some people who stayed in it through the good, the bad, and the in between, then the likeliness of you doing it as well is greater. And so I appreciate people like you who have that mindset, and I appreciate you sharing that a wife for life is a committed woman and not just committed to the relationship, but committed to personal growth because that's what makes the relationship last. When you're totally invested in doing what's necessary as a woman to make sure that you're showing up as the best version of yourself as a wife, as a mother, as a first lady, as a friend. As a daughter, as a relative, all the hats, or as you say, all the things.
All the things. And just making sure that like if you are having a rough patch, if divorce is crossing your mind, um, just make sure that you have done everything that you could do before you go down that road because every day is not gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard with the next person. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, just make sure that you have done all the things before you even start having that conversation of separation.
Yeah.
Um, because you should try to honor that commitment,
Mhm.
honor the commitment that you made.
Yeah. Yeah. And seek help. Don't trust yourself to make that decision alone. Seek help.
Seek, seek good help,
Good help. That's right.
not TikTok help.
Okay, not TikTok help, but good help, real help, in person help. Somebody who wants to see your relationship win help, you know. So yeah. Well,
Not the friend who's gonna be like, "Girl, I go over there with you and slice them tires." Not
right, not hood help. We don't need hood help. Need healing help. That's what kind of help we need. So yes, but thank you so much, Dr. Nikita White,
thank
for
you.
joining us. I appreciate you.
Same. I appreciate you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for your yes. And thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Wife for Life. I hope you have enjoyed all the things that Nikita shared with us. I hope they impart something in your life, whether it be professionally, personally, or in your marriage. And I hope that if you enjoyed this or know someone who this podcast would speak to, that you would share it with them. So, thanks again for watching. And hey, I hope I see you next time on another episode of Wife for Life. This is Michelle McElroy signing off as your none and other favorite marriage specialist. Have a good one.